Hello, welcome to Loutzen Academy. My name's Yezi, and I figured to do an introductory video before we go into the drawing process. So my intentions with this channel is to upload long form content. I'm more interested in creating long form content because I want to delve into the art making process. And for me, it's not beneficial to try to create content over and over again just to get it uploaded. I'm more interested in quality content more than quantity. So today we'll be making commentary over a portrait of my husband video I recorded last night. I'll be using Willow charcoal. So Willow and vinyl charcoal, they're two different types of charcoal, but they are used interchangeably a lot. Even I use it interchangeably, but willow charcoal is made out of the willow branch, and vinyl charcoal is made out of grapevine branch. And they are both soft charcoals, and I like creating with a soft charcoal more than a harder compressed charcoal because you can really push and pull your portraiture in that way. Usually people do not recommend using vinyl willow charcoal as a finished piece. They tend to recommend using it as a foundation to make markings of the piece that you want to create, and then you go over it with a compressed charcoal, or you use fixative to get the charcoal to stay and then create a piece above that. But my intent and purpose of this specific video is to show you how much you can push and pull with the willow charcoal, and it's so soft and easy to erase, and it takes away the pressure to create the perfect line. And throughout the video you will see me just push and pull throughout the portraiture, and I hope that you guys enjoy that process as well and learn to let go of trying to create the most perfect intentional line. So I'm sure I won't be able to talk the whole 40 minutes of the video. I will be making commentary here and there, point out specific things I do that may be hard to catch on. And during the times I don't feel like speaking, I may insert some art blogging videos or life blogging videos of just small things that in my life that makes me happy. Most likely I won't be recording on my work days. I do work very long hours, so on my days off you'll find some videos to fill in for those empty spaces in between. So let's get started in this commentary process, and I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you. So we're starting off the video of me just showing the material. So the first thing I do pull up is this natural charcoal, 7 to 9 millimeters. It's a very nice thick charcoal, easy to break, and don't be afraid to just break it in half like I do so right here. The next set of materials I'll be showing is just a regular straight edge eraser and a kneaded eraser. At this point of the video, I do realize I needed the eraser for a while, and I was thinking this would be a nice ASMR portion of the video, but the longer I just see myself needing it, I feel like it's not necessary. But needing the eraser is a good way to get most of the charcoal from the past off of it. Sometimes you want to knead it to the point of cleaning it. That right there is a little makeup brush that I got, and a small mason jar for extra dust to use. I do paint a lot with the leftover powder of the charcoal that I scrape off with the sandpaper, and I use Q-tips as well. I got this giant box of Q-tips right here from Amazon. It's called Double Tip Cotton Swabs by Home Fox, and I just love the black Q-tip look, and it has a nice pointing edge and a nice soft edge just to get into the detail work. You can see me with my sandpaper, just a generic artist sandpaper. We'll be using that to shave off the dust and creating a point on the vinyl charcoal for detail work. I love using vinyl charcoal, especially the sides of it, to create large blocks of shadows, and then using the point for detail work. I try to not use the point too much because then I get into a drawing mode. Uh, just trying to get every detail mode, and using the side of the charcoal allows us to get more of a bigger picture instead of focusing on the details. So right now I am currently adding charcoal to the paper so I can create a nice gray base. I do this first instead of just working on white paper because you can draw with the eraser. You can use the eraser to pull out lights and highlights, and it's a great way and a quick way to get value. So I spent quite a while trying to get the charcoal on there, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I just tend to just get a general gray image on there. See right there, I'm trying to have fun, trying to make it interesting to look at because we're recording this, but for the most part, just get that charcoal on that paper and use the makeup brush just to smooth it out to your satisfaction. If you have respiratory issues, I do recommend wearing a mask. Vinyl charcoal is and willow charcoal is very dusty, and if that's something that you may have issues with, I do recommend wearing a mask with it as well. I like wearing black gloves with it. We do have oils on our fingers that can cause smudges on the charcoal, and you could see your oil prints on the charcoal. Setting up my reference point. My reference point is going to be a portrait of my husband. I tend to just make little markings here and there, nothing too serious. I'm not trying to get an exact portrait of the reference photo. I'm more interested of just blocking in shapes and pulling out the the face from just pushing and pulling the shapes. And I'm gonna say pushing and pulling a lot because that's what it feels like for me. Was when I'm creating a face, I'm pushing it to a point where it gets really close, and then I get to a point where I pull it back until I find this nice middle ground where I do feel the face is recognizable. So I am using the side of the charcoal stick to create these blocks of shadows. It is helpful to not start the piece with just trying to draw the outline of the person. Blocking in big shapes of shadows is very helpful to get the piece. I'll be making a lot of corrections in the piece as well because I'm not necessarily citing, which is a measurement, a sense of measuring in the art world. I don't plan on citing, I'm just trying to get the image on the paper as quickly as possible, but in doing so, I will make a lot of mistakes and a lot of corrections. Then that's the reason I do like Willow charcoal is it's okay. I could just erase it and create a new line. This little paintbrush, I would say a pencil brush, helps push the charcoal a bit further out. I didn't show it in the beginning, but it does do a great way of getting into a final detail instead of using the makeup brush. So this is the makeup brush I use. It is an e.l.f. small stipple. Nothing special. This was an old makeup brush I had a while back, and I needed something really quick, so I just used this to just create big, just to smear it all around. And then this one is great because it does have a pencil. It's also charcoal pencil at the edge. But then this brush is what I use a lot to push the charcoal around. So over here we're slowly forming the face using the side of the charcoal to block in his hair. He had a crazy hair day that day, so I cut his hair the next day as well. And just trying to find small areas where I can pinpoint where his shoulder is gonna land. And throughout the piece, I do move his head and his shoulder quite a lot. And in doing so, when you do create a piece, it is good to do your measurements and sight as well, especially if you want to create a permanent piece that you don't want to make a lot of corrections on. But you'll see me make a lot of corrections in this piece for sure. I love how quickly you can create an image just by using the side of the charcoal stick. It's just blocking it in and already create a, you can already see the image coming out. Using the little makeup brush just to smear out some areas. So with Willow charcoal, it is has a deeper color than the vinyl charcoal. You could push a darker black with it, but I do say it is not as dark and strong as a compressed charcoal. I do see when I do use a compressed charcoal on the paper against Willow or vinyl, the compressed charcoal comes off very glistening, like it's a shiny material compared to the Willow and the vine. So if that's something that you may not like, the inconsistency of the matte versus the glistening of the compressed charcoal. Can't think of the word for it. It's insane. But nonetheless, it's just, if that's a preference, then stick with the vinyl charcoal. You can create a full piece with it. Definitely using compress will push the piece further. And then towards the end of the video, I will show a piece where I did use a little bit of compress to bring the form together. This one's just going to be straight willow charcoal. You could try to push as hard as you can, but it's not going to get any darker. And if you really need that piece, some parts of the shadows to get darker, then you'll have to use some type of compressed charcoal. So I'm going in using the back of that paintbrush, pushing the whites out, which is very nicely. I don't even have to use eraser at this point. Just pushing the whites out, just dusting it off in a way, and that brings out this lighter value. Getting my kneaded eraser out. The kneaded eraser is great because you can mold it into a plate to do smaller highlight works. You can see I'm using the kneaded eraser just to put small tidbits of lighter values. I'm not using a strict value chart for this particular piece as well. Like I said earlier, I was trying to get that measurement, the perfect measurement. If I was going to do so, I would have printed a value chart and then have the value chart next to the reference photo I've had. But since I am just interested in showing you guys what you can do with vinyl charcoal and eraser and pushing it to create an image is a good step forward. Maybe in a future video I will show how to use a good value chart to really create a more dynamic photo. So as we're doing small little detail work, getting his tie in, I'll probably just talk a little bit about my art background, stuff that I've done for a very long time. I did have an 8-year hiatus, I believe. It's been a very long time, but I graduated from the Ryman Arts program when I was 17. It's a program for young artists to do college college specific fine artworks of technical drawing and painting, and that's where a lot of my technical skills came from. And then I went to Cal State Fullerton for 3 years to do a bachelor's in fine art. My specific degree was just going to be drawing and painting. During 2020 COVID, I did drop out. Decided to take a gap year. Something about paying full tuition and just doing online classes didn't sit right with me. Especially as an artist, we did a lot of critiques on the paintings that we did. And uh, during my college years, I created my paintings were very big, like a wall size painting, and I felt like they needed to be critiqued more in person. But during COVID, we were confined to our computer screens and trying to do critique work through there, which is ironic now because now I'm creating art through YouTube and trying to show off some technical skills through YouTube art. But I do feel like there is a difference. It is important to see the artwork in person, especially if it's a larger scale piece. If it's a larger scale piece, I recommend people to go to art museums, go to even community art galleries. It doesn't have to be a big art museum. Most art museums are free, especially when you have a student pass or discounted. And there's also art communities in your area that shows the people of the community art, not famous artwork as well. But you could find a lot of value in searching in those. So yeah, during that time, I didn't feel it was beneficial for me to pay full tuition just for online classes. So I told myself I'll take a gap year, get back to it. Like most people who take gap years, never got back to it. So I'm a good old college dropout, but that's fine. I've always figured I could always do my practice outside of the education setting. So during my first gap year, I got into a career that I landed that it was just as fulfilling as my art, but I didn't spend a lot of time doing my art, I would say. So I would say about 8 years later of going through the career and moving around and finding a subset or a sidestep of that same career, I do have a better schedule where I can focus on this practice. So I'm hoping to during this new year to actually dedicate myself back to doing portraitures. During my college years, I really enjoyed painting portraits. My main medium was oil painting. I don't have a studio as of right now, and oil paintings could get a bit messy. You have to open all the windows because of the fumes that comes from it. But it is definitely a beautiful material to work with, and I do look forward of even in my small little corner studio here. I do look forward of to still practice maybe smaller size portraitures. So yeah, so during my college years, it was a good time. Just didn't feel like it was worth it at that time. And in the end, we always end up where we feel like we always end up where we need to be, I would say. So right now here I placed his eyes by using the kneaded eraser, and it looks a little high right here. You're gonna see that I'm gonna correct that quite soon. But you see me creating the form, trying to do small detail work. Very funny look right now, but I did enjoy doing the garments. I do think creating looking at garments as just shapes in light and darkness really helps out. It's just blocking into shapes instead of just trying to create the garment. And at this point of the painting, I did started using the sharper edge of my charcoal, and I think that's where I felt like I got very into just drawing, if that makes sense. Of I try to stay away when I'm doing these portraiture sketches. I try to stay away from doing just trying to draw with a pointed edge, just because I feel like it's very constricting. Then you tend to make more mistakes because you feel like you could get the line to define the shape, but once you put the line, it actually flattens out the shape. So you want to be careful with that. So I at one point I you do see me trying to work with this, and I think it's a good while until I realized, oh, you got into your old habit of just trying to draw like you draw with a pencil. And with this vinyl charcoal, willow charcoal, I try to avoid that because you'll start seeing how this piece just doesn't look right. And at one point, Not sure at one point in this video my husband does come home, so I did end up taking a break because it just wasn't going where I wanted it to. And that's okay. And that's the great thing about this material. I could get my trusty makeup brush and I could just smear it all out and start over. And you do see me at one point adjust the head a bit and start over. So during the time I was taking my 8-year hiatus, I think I did a smaller scale artworks. I did more of digital art. Got into a little bit of trying to do character design just for fun. But I think I love portrait art, portrait work. And I can't tell you why. I just something about finding the shapes and values to create a person just itches my brain really well. And I do, since I've been with my husband, I just been obsessed with drawing him, which could get annoying for the viewer over time. So I will push myself to reach outside of my comfort zone right now of just drawing my husband because I'm just obsessed right now, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so definitely I decided just to do the portrait of him. I decided to just do the portrait of him today just because I knew it was something that I could really use to test out this video formatting. This will be my first YouTube video I've ever uploaded, so I think it's a good start for me to figure out if I like this whole having the artwork on the side and me on the other side commentating on it and speaking to the viewer, and if that's gonna be something that I move forward with. So yeah, so I think it would also be beneficial for the viewer, and my apologies, to have the reference photo in place as well. But I do want to respect my husband's privacy, even though you'll see him through the art I create. I think there is a difference between seeing a person through art versus actually seeing a photo of their face. So just for the respecting my husband's privacy, I would prefer to just not leave to not put in the reference photo today. But future art portrait references, I will find references maybe online or people who do not mind being shown to the public eye. I'll do plan on showing the art reference because I think it is helpful for the viewer to see where the artist is, like the map work of what the artist is working with. I think at this point of the painting I was like not happy with his face. And that's okay. Right here I'm trying to measure his nose, see if what's going on. I know that there's something wrong with, quote unquote, wrong with it, right? So I'm using, so when it comes to measuring or citing artwork, which like I said, I did not do in this one. And if I want to do more of a permanent artwork, I would definitely cite, I would definitely do my measurements as well. But if you want to do a citing artwork, it is a very easy process. You could get a ruler or a vertical pencil like this, and you have to have your arm straight out and you close your eyes, and let's say if you're citing a head, like doing a figure drawings, a person is posing for you and you're using the head as a reference to cite the torso, to cite where the legs are at, to cite where the feet ends up, you'll basically pull out your vertical pencil or ruler and you'll close one eye and you'll use your thumb, your bottom thumb, as a way to make a measurement, and the top of the pencil, sorry, and the top of a pencil to be the top of the measurement. And when you do that, you can use that as you're measuring things. So right here is my measurement, and I'm still squinting my eyes, I'm still keeping my hand out, and I'm using that to sight and count. It's a counting game, counting heads, they would say. So it's usually like on average an 8 head for a person, 7 to 8 heads for a person standing straight up. So using the head as a measurement, which is going to be the easiest thing to measure, you're going to use that to count how many heads the whole portrait or the whole sitting person is, and you'll be able to measure that, and then go on your canvas itself and maybe draw eight equal measurements, and that 8 equal measurements is going to be your head, if that makes sense. If anyone's interested, I can go into a deeper dive of this specific measuring tool that artists use, if anyone's interested. So, as you can see, I totally erased this portraiture. I was very much not feeling it. So I think this is the next morning. Yes, I did take a break. So when my husband came home, I was working on this, and then I decided to take a break because I felt like I wasn't going anywhere with it. Then we ended up eating dinner and then watching Desperate Housewives and then falling asleep. So the next morning is when I got to it, and I had a better visual of what I wanted to see the next morning, and that's good. It's okay to take a pause in your art piece. It's okay to get your nice little makeup brush and just erase the whole dang thing, and just to start over. So over here you can see I'm cleaning up my measurements. I wanted that shoulder to get a little bit lower. Looking at the ear to the shoulder, I think at that point I realized that there needed to be less space between his ear and shoulder right there. And then I started shifting his head a bit too, because I noticed that his chin needed to be a little bit over that collar, which over time you'll see I start pushing it over, and over here I'm over here trying to measure my head now. So I do recommend to get into your measurements in the beginning if that's something that you're really interested in with doing this. You'll see that I'm just like, you know what, I need to measure this right now. And that's okay. I think it goes to show how well this material is easy to fix mistakes. It is so easy. It might get a little bit messy and you might have to erase a little bit more, but it's not you don't erase and the line isn't still there faded. It's like it's completely gone. And that's the great thing about Willow and vinyl charcoal, and I will always draw with that. I'll create a finished piece with that. A lot of people would recommend it because it is not a permanent art piece of material, and it's also, like I said earlier, it doesn't go as dark as you may want it to. It doesn't go in deep values. So if you are interested in getting the correct values and pushing your values deeper and deeper, I do recommend to potentially using a compressed charcoal, which is harder to erase, harder to get rid of, which is it's just a different way of going into your medium. So yeah, as you can see, I shifted my whole portrait over. I was not feeling it. And I think at this point I started I was like, okay, I know where I'm at. Starting to push him around, push the light around. You can see how the dust when you push the dust, it creates a darker value, which is also nice and beneficial. So when you're using the edge of this brush to push light, I suggest to push the dust towards any darker value areas. It's beneficial in that way. Starting going into his cheekbones. I think the reason why I like painting my husband is because he has a massive mustache and it covers most of his face. So it's very easy to just forget about the lip area and just put a block of mustache there and it looks done. So I think maybe that's why I paint him the most or draw him the most, because this is, to my brain, it's like, hey, that's easy. So I'll definitely get out of my comfort zone. See, over here, I re-measured his face and I decided that his hair wasn't big enough. So at this point, looking at the portrait, he does look like a character from Tombstone. So if that's something you're interested in, we do like cowboy stuff here, and maybe I might go and draw some horses or some cows, do some landscape painting as well, and that's something, the type of art content that you like. This may be your channel. We do live in a community where we do have quite a few horses and some horse trails, and just wonder how my neighbors would feel if I just post up camp near their yard and just they just see me sighting their horse's head, just trying to get the perfect measurements. But doesn't hurt to try, right? I don't think I'll get in trouble for that, especially if I'm not in the house. So we do have quite a couple of farm animals in the area that I can use as reference. But over here, I'm adjusting the collar of his suit. I did realize that the collar was getting a little bit too big, and it was it's going to be a shorter collar towards the end of this video. What I'm drinking today is a Café de Olla. It's a Hispanic coffee, and I may have pronounced that very wrong, so my apologies. But it's a very good dark roasted coffee where you mix cinnamon and you really want to get into it, brown sugar with this, and it's a very good coffee. I've been trying to stay away from creamers in my coffee lately. Just I feel like it's plenty of sugar and been feeling bloated and achy just drinking it. So I've been trying to work with darker coffees, and this is probably the more sweeter coffee that I've been making for myself and my husband, and I do enjoy it. During Christmas, I had a rum chata, so drinking this with some rum chata was very good as well. The in-laws loved it, so that was a hit. Yeah, so just drinking my cafecito and just watching art with you. It's a good Monday. So at this point, I started to use the bigger eraser because as you go through your portraiture, you do realize it's going to get a bit messy, a bit dirty, especially when you use a dirty kneaded eraser. So when you erase, it won't pull off as much of the charcoal as you like. It may be beneficial if you wanna create more of a value transition where you just lightly use the kneaded eraser, then you'll pull off lightly. But for this purpose, I really wanted to use that straight edge white eraser. Excuse me, that straight edge white eraser to get that edge of that collar because it was a specific highlight, a very specific highlight. Surprisingly, I am speaking through this whole video, so I do tend to talk a lot, except for my moments where I get quiet, and hopefully that's not awkward for you. I don't mind silence. I actually enjoy it, even though I do talk a lot. My husband's the silent type, so it is very nice to just sit in silence with someone. So I hope you don't mind me sitting in silence with you while we watch me do this drawing process. Over here, I'm trying to fix that mustache of his. I think this is probably my second time fixing that face, and I'm sure you guys out there working with this is doing a better job at keeping a consistent face on your canvas. So, but like I said, with vinyl and willow charcoal, you can really push it and pull it so that you just keep on fixing, keep on creating. So I think there is value to it. I wonder if I passed that point in the video where I can show a couple of things that I do enjoy on my days off. So as I'm watching this video, I'm trying to find points in it where I can just, you know, take a step away from vlogging and show you guys some clouds or some chickens, maybe. We'll see. I'm not too sure how you guys would feel about having a nice little soundtrack at the bottom, or if it's just very overstimulating to see a portrait being done and a person just talking at you, and then having the music play in the background. It reminds me of those brain rot memes, or how do I explain it? Where like people can't focus unless they have subway surfers on top. So as like you're scrolling through and then you come across a video of you're watching the video of like something aesthetic like slime, or something satisfying like when somebody's mixing paints or just doing anything that you could just like look, but then you have the subway surfer, you have the subway surfer icon on the top, and you're just like watching that at the same time. And they say it's like the brain rot way of just trying to focus. I wonder if this is kind of similar, where you just see the portrait and then me just talking to you the whole time. So we'll see how this format works and how well I do enjoy seeing myself talk, or if I don't, we'll see. We'll see how it works. If you guys have any suggestions of topics that we can do, because I do plan of doing longer format videos, then I'll be open to just topics and just talking with you guys, or talking into the void. So at this point he looks terrified. That's the hardest thing for me is pupils. It's very easy to make it look cross-eyed, and it's very easy to make them look terrified. But don't worry, I fix it in here. There we go. So yeah, typically I do not. There you go. Yeah, that looks a lot better. But yeah, so if there's any topics of discussions that you guys may want to know, or do a Q&A, talk more about art and the kind of art I enjoy. I guess for people, portraiture might be a little bit boring and not as creative in the art world, but I don't know, something about it I do find a lot of value in just creating portraits of people. So I also wonder if the format of the video, having my canvas on the left side and then having me speak on the right side, would be beneficial to everybody, or maybe much. Let's find out. We'll find it out. So it looks like we're going into the end of this portrait. I wouldn't say it's a portrait that got pushed with values as much as it can. Like I said early in the video, I wasn't really focused on trying to get exact values and the exact measurements. I was just more focused on showing the viewer what you can do with vinyl charcoal, willow charcoal, and using erasers to draw instead of just trying to use the pencil to draw. But yeah, looks like we're going to the end of this video. I do have a portrait that I'll be showing you of my husband that I did last year, about around this time last year. Um, I still did the same process of using the vinyl charcoal in the beginning, and I believe I used a little bit of compressed charcoal to get into the detail work to really push the image, I would say. But as of right now, I think it's a good portrait. You can see me using a little bit of the pencil charcoal, um, sharpening it right there. But you can see, I'm not sure if it will show, but when I used the charcoal pencil, it came out as a cooler tone. A cooler tone, and it also had that same texture I was explaining earlier where it was glossy. That's the word, glossy, matte and glossy. So the texture was glossy, and I just didn't enjoy that just because I just feel like it takes me out of the portraiture. I'm not sure if it's something that you can notice as the viewer in watching, so maybe. So yeah, that's the end product. Just did a quick portrait. It took 2 sessions. I just needed a quick break. And then I'm gonna be showing another portrait of my husband, which I did early in the year. I did got more defined into the value changes, trying to get into the detail work. So yeah, that'll be basically how I show the images. So that's how I'll be showing those images. The portrait from last year was a very more detailed portrait, a portrait that took longer. Also have this portrait in this background. You could kind of see it. Maybe I'll show it at the as an image at the end, but it's another portrait of my husband. I know. I'm obsessed. It's okay. We're married. More of a abstract version of my husband. You could still see his shape and form, but it was less line work and more blocked in images. So I'll probably show a photo of that towards the end. But thank you so much for watching through this whole video. If you did listen to me yap for 40 minutes, my apologies. But hopefully this is something that I can continue to do and people find enjoyment in. So thank you so much and see you next week.